Hey guys, today we're going to be doing something a little different. We're going to be learning how to play chess. Did I just say chest? I might have said chest. But we're going to learn how to play chess. Well, I already know how to play chess, but we're just going to go through the tutorial in pure chess for the PlayStation 4. And I'll talk about my experiences with chess. And we'll talk in a smooth jazz voice. And we'll be nice and relaxed. And hopefully you watching this video don't know how to play chess, and maybe you'll learn how to play chess and maybe pick up either pure chess for the PlayStation 3 or the PlayStation 4, or just go out and to your local store. Sure, Walmart, Target, or other places like that actually have a chessboard that you can buy. There's the classic wood set, or there's that crystal like glass set. And I remember years ago, once the Lord of the Rings first came out, they had this really cool orc and human chess set, which actually had some like the models of from the movie and stuff, which is actually pretty nice. So there we learned how the chess pieces move and how you can move them, just the basic stuff. So now we're going to learn about that character, and that was the rook, which I usually just call like the castle or something. When I was younger, I used to call it the castle. The rooks are pretty powerful. They can move pretty much anywhere they want on the board as long as it's in a straight line. So they can move left, right, top or bottom. And just going here, reading the stuff on the side. If I am reading or skipping past the text on the right side of the screen too fast for you, it's a video. Just hit that pause button, read it, take as much time as you want, and then hit that play button. I will be right here waiting for you. So here we go. The rook, pretty easy. So now let's learn about the bishops. The bishops move diagonally in any direction. They can pretty much travel anywhere on the board, just like the rook, but the difference is they can only move diagonally. So they can move, in the corners here or corners there. So kind of like the rook turned on its side. Alright, so that was pretty easy. So we know the rook. Now the queen is pretty unique in that it has both the rook and the bishop's moves. Pretty much the queen can go anywhere she wants, and she can do pretty much anything she damn well pleases, because as any guy knows, your woman is always right. You are always wrong. She can do whatever she wants. She is always right. That sound device and that chess, I don't even know how old chess is. Thousands of years. It's the same thing, hasn't changed. The queen can do whatever the hell she damn pleases. So guys, just treat your girl right, and she will treat you just as well. So now we're going to learn about the king. The king is basically how you win or lose this game, but obviously all your other pieces are just as important. So your king can only move in one square. He can move in any direction, but only one square. And now there's a little interesting as you'll find as you play on. He can't go within one square of another king, so you can actually push and pull and maybe even get cornered and trapped by using another king against your king. Alright, so now we have our pawns. They are pretty easy. They can only move forward. Their first move, they can move 2 squares. After that, they can only move 1. So now our knight is our little horsey. He can move in L shapes, any direction, but it's an L, so he goes over 2 and either up or down 1 or side 1. So he makes a little L shape out of 2 over and then 1 over. So now we're going to learn how to capture our pieces. We can pretty much capture any piece we want, but obviously we are going to kill the queen. So these are actually called files, which I never actually knew the proper term, like growing up, because obviously, I was just playing with kids and stuff. I don't really remember actually playing, it was just like my cousins and stuff and friends. I don't think I've actually ever played with like an adult chess who actually knew what they were doing, or at least knew the correct terms like files. Eventually I learned like columns and rows and stuff, but anyway. So now we're going to learn how to capture the bishop. So, capture with the bishop. Now they can go in long diagonals, just like the rook, just turned on its side so it can go in diagonal any direction we want. Obviously we're going to go after the queen because, as we'll learn a little bit later on, the queen is pretty much the most valuable player on the board, other than the king, of course. So now we're going to learn how to capture using our queen. Remember, she can go any direction she damn well pleases because she is very strong and independent, and she doesn't really need the king. You know, she actually really runs the show. The queen runs the show. But as we know, the queens can not always be perfect. So we're just going to take out this queen and we'll pretend she's not perfect. Not to say that, but you know, all females are amazing, and they should be treated with the respect that they deserve. So we'll go back to learning how to capture the king. Obviously, the king, as we just found out before, he can move in any direction, so we can obviously capture in any direction as long as it's within one square. And you know, gotta keep in mind your king can be used tactically, and you know you can win games using your king. So don't just keep your king hidden in a corner, because that can also lead you into a trap, and you know can get checked very easily, and maybe even checkmate. Now we're going to learn how to move the capture with the pawn. The pawn actually has a couple ways to capture that I actually didn't really know about this second move that we'll learn about. But the pawn can move forward, only forward, but it captures only diagonally. So it can only move forward to the diagonally to capture. So it can actually move around the board in some unique ways, but he can only move forward. He can't move back, he can't move to the side unless he captures. But we're going to learn, I don't know if we're going to learn about it right now, but we will learn a little later on about a special little move that the pawn can do. So here we see how we can capture with the knight. Like I was saying before, we can go in any direction, 2 and then over 1, 2 in any direction, and then 1 into the other opposing direction. So we're going to go down 2 and over 1 to the right. But we could have captured any piece on that board. Alright, so now we're going to learn the basics of chess. So each, as you can tell, each file, a little row box, has a number, A, B, C, and then 1, 2, 3. Now I remember doing this, well not doing this, but watching this in like TV show and stuff like that, where back in the day when you would get like a chessboard and you would like get on the phone and you would actually like call someone in Russia and be like, alright, I want to move my pawn H2 to H3 or something, you know, and then like they would move the same piece, and they're in Russia but they're using the same board, and they would move the board, and you'd have like a really long distance phone bill or something. So you can commentate the board and commentate your moves with the numbers and the letters and stuff. So B is for bishop, R is for rook, Q is for queen. So let's move the bishop to square C3, or no, we're on C3, sorry. Now let's make the move B I6. So we're going to move the bishop over, and there we go. F6. Did I say I6? I meant F6. Sorry about that. There is no I. So now we're going to learn about the capturing pieces. So capturing is represented by an X, which I don't really know. Do people actually? I guess if you're trying to practice and study, you'll make notes of what you did. So you'll make like the QX, and you know, maybe at like tournaments or something they do all these notations. But I don't think people actually playing this game, at least I've never actually written down, you know, our moves. So the king is our most important piece. Obviously, if the king gets captured, you lose your kingdom and you lose the game. So now, right now, we're in check. So let's learn how to get out of check by moving out of the way. And we'll move here. So now we're no longer in check. Now when you are in check, you cannot move. You have to either block, or you can only move your king out of check. Or you can move another piece to block, which we will learn here, where we move our pawn to block the queen. So now we're no longer in check. So now we're going to be learning about attacking check. So we learned how to move out of the way when we're in check. We learned how to block when we were in check. So now we are going to attack the queen that we are in check and get her out of the way. So now we are no longer in check by attacking using our knight. Pretty simple stuff there. So now we're going to learn about checkmate. This is how you win or lose the game. It's the ultimate aim in chess is to trap the opponent's king, which obviously you want to get rid of the king and take over the kingdom. Which can be a little tricky because, you know, if you can try and get a checkmate, but you might end up with a stalemate. And now stalemate, technically it's just a draw and nobody wins. But usually growing up and playing, if you got a stalemate, like if you got him running around and he had no moves and, you know, basically you won. But technically, if you get a stalemate where he can't legally make a move, it's a draw. So now we're going to learn how to offer a draw. Basically, if you're playing this in real life, you just say, hey, you know what? We've been playing this for 3 hours. It's not going anywhere. Let's just call it a draw. And he'll be like, okay, I don't want to do this anymore either. And then you just say a draw. But for the sake of the game, if you're playing online, you can press the options button on the PlayStation 4 and you go to offer draw and just say, hey, you know what? It's been fun playing with you. Let's just offer a draw. And hopefully they do it. But if you're playing against a computer, obviously the computer is going to accept your draw. A little silly there, but it's just a tutorial teaching you how to play. All right. So next we will be learning about stalemate. I talked a little bit about this, but you kind of don't want to end in a stalemate because, as it says, the rules, the technical rules, it results in an automatic draw. But usually if you're playing with someone else, I mean, that person should be the bigger person and just say, yeah, you know what, it's a stalemate, but you won. Not that you're really keeping track of your wins and losses playing chess with your friends. But here we go. So technically, if we move our rook here, well, not here, here, he is not in check, but he can't make a legal move. Because if he moves that bishop, he'll be putting himself in check. If he moves forward, oh wait, yeah, because it's queen. Yeah, he would be in check either way. So you can't put yourself in check. So now we're going to learn about perpetual check. When one player checks the enemy king repeatedly, if this happens over and over again, it ends in a draw. So just keep that in mind, not to do that unless you just want to draw and you want it to get over with. So we'll see how this works. So basically, I move into check, and then he kills me, and then I check again, and then he moves out of the way, and then I check again, boom, and then boom, second time, same piece, and then that's the third same piece, automatic draw. So if you keep doing the same check with the same pieces 3 times in a row, automatic draw. So just try to change it up so you don't end up in a draw and you actually end up winning. Then we're going to learn about capturing our valuable pieces. So we notice, you know, some pieces are more valuable than others, obviously. Like your queen is like your most powerful, and your pawn, not really probably like the least powerful, but the pawn is pretty good. So we're going to measure these by pawns. So your knight is worth 3 pawns, your bishop is worth 3 pawns, your rook is worth 5 pawns, and your queen is pretty much worth all your pawns, 9 pawns. So remember, your knight is 3, bishop is 3, rook is 5, queen is 9. So basically, everything's 3 except for your rook is 5, your queen is 9, and your king is worth everything. So you want your knight is only 3, so we'll take the rook, which is 5. Simple math. The rook is 5, so we take our knight, which is take the knight. I mean, we capture the rook because it's worth more than all those pawns on the board. So then we're going to learn about sacrificing. So obviously we just learned how valuable other pieces are. So we want to make sure we don't sacrifice a more valuable piece. So obviously our queen is the most powerful, so we're going to sacrifice our bishop here, which is only worth 3. Because remember, they're all worth 3 pawns. Pawns are worth 1. Bishops, knights 3, rooks 5, queen 9, kings worth everything. So now the knight will capture our bishop instead of our queen. Alright, so now we're going to learn about the king side. So this is a pretty useful tactic. I remember not really learning about this until much later on, until me playing chess, at least a couple years in. I forget who actually taught it to me, but I was like, wait, you can't do that? But yeah, it turns out you can. So this is like the one exception where the king can actually move more than one space. And you have to do this. It's only possible if both your king and that rook have not moved. So kingside castling is written down as 0, 0. Now this is when we basically move to the right side of the board. So now we're going to move our king over to g1. So you move him right next to the rook, and then you basically just take your hands and you switch the rook over. So let's say you had some people attacking your king, so you want to get him out of the way. You can do it that way. So that's how you move to the right. Now let's learn about the queen side, where you move to the left. So king side was the right, queen side is the left. Now this is written down as 0, 0, 0, if you're taking notes. So we're going to move our king over 2 spaces to c1, and then we will move our rook over to d1. So that's a queen side, or a queen slide. But no, I'm not that cool. We're not going to do that. But so there we go. Now we learned about castling. Hopefully I'm pronouncing all these words correctly in my proper English. So now we're going to learn about pawn promotion. This is pretty much your ultimate goal for your pawn. You want to get your pawn from your starting trenches and get him all the way to the enemy, behind enemy lines. So once you cross their starting line, or you know, where they start, their row, their 0, or their 9, or 8, I don't know, I'm sorry, I'm losing track. Once you get the pawn over there, you can promote them. I think I have always promoted my pawns to queens. Unless there's a certain circumstance where you need someone specific, maybe like, you know, if the king's there and you can check him with a knight. But usually I always go for the queen. It seems like the smartest thing, but as you know, as each board is laid out and the pieces are in certain places, you might want to take someone else, like a knight, who can actually move a little differently than the queen. So now this is something I don't think I've ever really known. I might have learned a long time ago, but it's something I probably forget. Hopefully I'm saying this right. It's impuissant, like a croissant, but a puissant. So it's where 2 pawns are adjacent. You can capture them by actually moving to the side, which is actually kind of interesting. And it's only valid on your next move. So we're gonna watch how this sets up. So we move, 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 move. And now if any of those pawns on the left or right of my pawn moves forward 2 spaces, we can capture them. So we move 2 spaces, and now we can actually jump over him, which is kind of weird. It's kind of like, you know, it's as if he was there. So it's like he missed you in battle, so you're coming up behind him and stabbing him in the back. So he's to our right because he moved 2 squares up. Obviously, if you moved 1 square, you could just kill him diagonally. But so that's how you can actually progress forward an extra space and also keep capturing. But obviously, in that spot, you know, you got the 2 pawns to your left or right, and they can just knock you out. So you didn't really make too much progress there, but it's a cool move that you can maybe take advantage in the later game when there's not 2 pawns on either side that'll knock you out. So now we're going to learn about the basic tactic called the fork, which creates 2 threats. So you have a fork, but I prefer a fork that has like 3 or 4 prongs. I know back probably when chess was made, it was just 2 prongs, but you know, I think I prefer a fork with 3 or 4. Not that it really matters. When I think of a fork with 2, I think of like a carving fork. Or you can always use chopsticks too. All right. So let's see, where can we make the fork? Probably go right here. Would that do it? Yep. So now we're going to learn about the basic tactic of the pin. The defending piece cannot move because it would expose a more valuable piece. So if you remember those pieces, pretty much the pawns are 1, everything else is 3. The rook is 5, the queen is 9. So right now, the bishop is only 3, and our queen, their enemy queen, is 9. So we're going to use our bishop, which has a value of 3, and we're going to use it to pin the queen, which has a value of 9, against their king. So now that queen cannot move, she's pinned, because if she moves, she'll be putting herself in check. which you cannot legally put yourself into check. So we pin that queen, and she can no longer move. She can maybe get someone else to block and take the fall, but right now she cannot. So now we're going to learn about the skewer, when two enemy pieces are attacked along a rank, file, or diagonal. So just like pins, skewers can be carried out by pieces. Alright, so the white took A1 skewer. Okay, so let's use the white rook, move to A1, or at A1, and we're going to skewer the black king. So, boom. We got nothing to lose. Now he's in check. And we're going to learn about some basic opening moves. I don't know, I kind of play with opening moves all the time. It just, I don't know, it's haven't really found that one strategy because everyone plays differently. It's always different. But this opening sequence is known as the Italian game. So we're going to move our pawn here, move our knight here, and we're going to move our bishop here. Then we're going to castle, king side, and then there's your opening, and then you can, obviously do as you move as you the battlefield changes and all that good stuff. So now we're going to learn how not to open your game. There is some ways you can open the game, and it'll just lead you to ultimate destruction in like 2 moves. I think the fastest way you could like end a game of chess is like in like 2 or 3 moves, like pretty quickly. I think we'll show it here. But I remember learning some tricks like this early on. Some moves that you could actually move by like using the bishop and the queen and getting some early checkmates. And I used to do that to my friends like once I first learned it. But I think everyone kind of knows the basic stuff now. So basically, right here, we're doing what we don't want to do and making our king pretty vulnerable. And it's actually setting us up. So this is kind of a prime example of not taking out your queen too early. And, she's doing her own things, but our king is not doing too good. So now our queen cannot move. She's pinned. And it's not looking too good. So you want to not be so reckless when you start playing. You want to really move your queen. It's a bit, it's risky to move your queen early. You kind of really want to keep your queen. But she's very powerful too, so you want her on the battlefield. But just make sure you don't make any mistakes. So like here we're learning, think ahead. You want to think of your short game, but you also want to think of the long game. You want to think, what happens in 3 turns if I do this? Or what happens right now? What happens right now if I move this piece here? Yeah, maybe he'll take this, but what happens then? So there you go. Now we see what happens in a couple moves. So is it worth it? You got rid of his knight and a pawn. I mean, something. So now we're going to learn about the end game. So it can end a number of ways, but really, only way to win is to get a checkmate, and it's gonna be kind of tricky if it's just your queen and your king versus another king. I mean, it can be hard. It can happen. You can use your king to push the other king in certain ways and manipulate him, because, like I said before, the kings cannot come in within 1 square of each other. So right now the king can't come forward, and there's a check, and now he can't move forward, so we're pushing him and we're checking him again. So we're going to move our king a little over, so now he can't move. There's a 1 square buffer between me and that other king, and then there we go, he cannot move. If he moves forward, my queen will take him out no matter where, because he can't move to anywhere on the left because my king is blocking him with that invisible 1 square barrier. Because kings don't like to fight each other. So there you go. Hopefully you learned how to play chess, at least learned how the basics of how to play, learned all the pieces and how they work. But obviously there's tons and tons of books and probably video tutorials everywhere else, so you can get better at playing chess. But thank you so much for choosing to watch my video this far in. Don't know why you stuck with me, but thanks for listening and watching anyway. It means a lot to me. I don't typically do videos about chess or learning about chess or things like that. But I play a lot of other video games, so if you're interested in watching me play other video games where we have maybe a little bit or a lot more fun, but chess is pretty fun too. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button if you did like this. Maybe that'll push me to maybe post some more chess videos from Pure Chess on the PlayStation 4. So leave a like, hit that subscribe button if you want to watch me play some more video games. Leave a comment, let me know what you thought of this, and I don't know. I think that's it. So thank you so much for watching, guys and girls, and any kids of all ages. I don't think I swore. I think this was a kid-friendly tutorial. So sorry if I did do anything a little bit bad. No, I think I was actually pretty good. So thanks, guys, for watching, and go out and play chess. I think I'm a fan of that like crystal set. Not really crystal, but it's like glass, like that powdered white, like that frosted glass versus the clear glass on a glass table. I think that looks nice, but you can't go wrong with the classic wood set. Or like I said before, that Lord of the Rings chess set was actually pretty cool. Or any chess set that has like the physical representation of those characters. So if like your king actually looks like a fat king with like some furs and a crown, queen looks like a nice lady in a nice dress, and like your pawns just have like the sword and the shield. Like I think I like those chess sets actually the most. I like that physical representation of the actual people. But yeah, so hopefully this made you guys want to play chess, and actually play a board game. I know I played showed you how to use it on a video game, but board games are pretty fun, and just play more games. So this is the final goodbye. So see you guys in hopefully another video. So hit the subscribe button, leave a like, leave a comment, do all that fun YouTube stuff, and thanks for watching, guys.